Siege Tantenko here in Manila.
My name is Constancio Realiza Arnaldo Jr.
My name's Reno Ursal.
I'm Rafe Bartholomew.
Here in the Philippines, we're right now at a moment of change. There's honestly still so much we need to do in terms of attaining, true equality for our female basketball players in a society, honestly, where women's basketball has been underfunded, underinvested, undercovered, underrepresented. We're still struggling because the pandemic has meant further cutting of budgets, even less opportunities to play, even less coverage for women's basketball. But there are two things that give me hope. So the first thing is that the pandemic has forced leagues and institutions to get creative. And this provides us with a roadmap of things we can do for women if we could only take the chance. And the second thing is that in recent years, with the accessibility of digital resources, more and more young Filipinos are becoming educated and empowered to speak out about gender equality and gender issues in sport.
I'm just going to talk about the local angle here in Mountain House. We're the only city that had the rims up in the playground. So the neighboring cities the kids would just drive over and hoop outdoors in Mountain House all the way into the night basketball, even when it got hot. They didn't take the hoops down. So that was huge for our kids. My son would run down there and play hoop, and he would hoop down there. Then as a high school, I'm the varsity coach for girls at Mountain House High School since the school opened in 14-15. And I did everything I could to hold workouts within the restrictions that I had to work within. I would mask it up, double layer mask, and I had my virtual computer up for those who could join us virtually. So I would have my computer up in the gym on the ball cage and having the computer go around with the ball cage as I instructed the kids.
We are everywhere. We are a global diasporic population, but we're global because the Philippines can't support its own citizens because of what the sociologist Robin Rodriguez says, the human labor for export. So if we think about basketball, basketball is still laboring. I mean, sometimes we played not to get paid, but I think about Rafe's book in terms of him talking about Filipino Americans going back to the Philippines, right? Mike Cortez, I actually knew the guy. So when I read about Mike Cortez going to the Philippines to play, I'm like, I've met that guy. And I didn't think about, that he's going to the Philippines to play ball, but also to get paid, right? And so I think that we have to think about the diaspora, the Philippine diaspora. We're everywhere, but we're also laboring and we work. And so even though basketball is seen as play, it's still a part of labor. So labor and play can't be untangled. And that goes back to US colonialism in the Philippines. Basketball was introduced by the Americans, right? Late 19th century, early 20th century. And I think about Manny Pacquiao. He's not the first. Like there were boxers that went to Australia and the US to box in the early 20th century.
I think it's something where there are going to be those more opportunities to play college basketball, which lead to more opportunities to play professional basketball, whether it's back in the Philippines or somewhere else all over the world. And you just sort of see it growing incrementally year by year in a way that I think if you are, for a young person growing up, anywhere in the Philippine diaspora today, you have high hopes for your own basketball career. You really can push it to the max and go, be a trailblazer, do something that hasn't been done yet. And while there are people sort of knocking on the door of the NBA every year, it hasn't happened yet. But it probably will happen for a Kai Soto or whoever comes after Kai, and when that happens, it's going to inspire more people. And I think that is something that we'll see continue to grow over the years.
Even in the UAAP, you're not making the same kind of money that your male counterparts are making. So in the Philippines, it's not like the US NCAA where you can't get sponsorships. Here you can get sponsorships. Athletes endorse everything from post-paid plans to sportswear. They get free sneakers. The college basketball players here, the men, have free sneakers delivered to their houses every month. Whereas the girls who I know, they had to fight for a sponsorship for a sports bra. So the level of investment is so different. And after college, you have the boys going on to play in the PBA, build a house for their family, rags to riches stories. The girls go get a corporate job. But what's exciting now is that the door is opening. So in the same way that 30 Ravenna is in Japan, right? Jack Animam went to Taiwan. She took a master's degree so that she can play for a university in Taiwan. They won, champions, undefeated, perfect season, right? And then she goes to America, and now she's trying to see how far she can get with that training. And with Jack doing that, you know, the door opens for other girls.
Historically, I mean, I'm a girls basketball coach. I've coached a lot of Filipinas coming up in the youth travel ball league and through high school. And historically, they just stop either 9th, 10th grade, or they may play up to senior year, but they don't consider college ball. Well, that's changed. Think of Kayla Padilla, Penn State, the De Jesus and Duke. I mean, they're D1 players playing significant time. And I talk to Coach Chris from Film Nation all the time that there's a pipeline of a pathway for female Phil-Am players in the States. And that's where I think the opening is really is through women's basketball for Filipino basketball. If you want to put that label, Filipino basketball, there is, I think, opportunity there for women to play in the college ranks, which is a pathway to get a college education.
To Reno's point, you know, I did an interview, this is back when I was, you know, doing dissertation research. And one of my participants, her pseudonym is Jenilyn. She's gonna be in my book, and she talks about wanting to be in the NBA, not the WNBA. She wanted to be the first woman to make the NBA. And so I think that speaks to, you know, the aspirations, the dreams, the passions and the persistence to, you know, she didn't make it to the NBA, but like to think about how she wanted to be the first woman to make it to the NBA, like speaks to her drive and her motivation to do that. I mean, again, she didn't make it, but like I was struck by the fact that she was like, nah, not the WNBA. I want to make it to the NBA, which was really fascinating for me as a researcher.
Then on a personal level, I'm just grateful to be here. Obviously, I am not Filipino like everyone else here. I came to the country at 23 years old with a research grant, not knowing hardly anything about it, and it changed my life in a million ways. And it's not just it hasn't just been about professional gain for me. I still every time I can go back, we'll go visit. I have my inaanak in Manila and friends and a community that means as much to me as any other community I've been a part of in my life. And it's an honor to be here today with all of you and to continue being a part of this community and hopefully helping to do anything I can to support from now until forever.